Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived together in a house of their own, in front of a large forest. One of them was a little baby bear, and one of them was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great big bear. They each had a bowl for their porridge, a little bowl for the little baby bear, a middle-sized bowl for the middle-sized bear, and a great big bowl for the great big bear. And they each had a chair to sit in, a little chair for the little baby bear, a middle-sized chair for the middle-sized bear, and a great big chair for the great big bear. And they each had a bed to sleep in, a little bed for the little baby bear, a middle-sized bed for the middle-sized bear, and a great big bed for the great big bear. One day, after the three bears had made porridge for their breakfast and poured it into their porridge bowls, they walked out into the woods while their porridge was cooling, so that they would not burn their mouth by beginning too soon, because they were polite, well-brought-up bears. And while they were away, a little girl called Goldilocks, who lived on the other side of the forest and had been sent on an errand by her mother, passed by the house and looked in at the window. And then Goldilocks peeped in at the keyhole, because she was a mischievous little girl. And seeing that nobody was in the house, she lifted the latch. The door was not locked, because the bears were good bears, who did not harm anybody, and therefore never suspected that anybody would ever harm them. So Goldilocks opened the door and went in, and she was very pleased to see the porridge on the table. If she had been a well-brought-up little girl, she would have waited until the bears came home, and then perhaps they would have asked her to breakfast, for they were good bears. But Goldilocks was a mischievous little girl, and so she helped herself to the porridge. First, Goldilocks tasted the porridge of the great big bear, and that was too hot for her. Then she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but that was too cold for her. And then she went to the porridge of the little baby bear and tasted it, and it was neither too hot nor too cold. It was just right. And she liked it so much that she ate it all up, every single bit. Then Goldilocks, who was tired from catching butterflies outside, sat down in the chair of the great big bear. But that chair was too hard for her. Then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear, and that was too soft for her. And when she sat down in the chair of the little baby bear, she discovered that it was neither too hard nor too soft. It was just right. So she seated herself in it, and there she sat until the bottom of the chair fell out, and down she came, plump, upon the ground. That made her very cross, because she was a bad-tempered little girl. Now, being determined to rest, Goldilocks went upstairs into the bedroom where the three bears slept. And first she lay down in the bed of the great big bear, but that was too high at the head for her. And next she lay down on the bed of the middle-sized bear, but that was too high at the foot for her. And then she lay down upon the bed of the little baby bear, and that was neither too high at the head nor at the foot. It was just right. So she covered herself up comfortably and lay there until she fell fast asleep. By this time, the three bears thought that their porridge would be cool enough for them to eat it properly, so they came home to enjoy breakfast. Now, careless Goldilocks had left the spoon of the great big bear standing in his porridge bowl.
"Somebody has been at my porridge,"
said the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. Then the middle-sized bear looked at her porridge and saw that her spoon was standing in it as well. Somebody has been at my porridge, said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. And then the little baby bear looked at his porridge, and there was his spoon in the porridge bowl. But the porridge was all gone. Somebody has been at my porridge and has eaten it all up, said the little baby bear in his little baby voice. Upon this, the three bears, seeing that someone had entered their house and eaten up little baby bear's breakfast, began to look around them. Now, the careless Goldilocks had not put the hard cushion straight when she rose from the chair of the great big bear.
Somebody has been sitting in my chair,
said the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. And the careless Goldilocks had squatted down the soft cushion of the middle-sized bear. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Somebody has been sitting in my chair and has sat the bottom through, said the little baby bear in his little baby voice. Then the three bears thought that they had better look around a little bit more, so they went upstairs into their bedroom. Now Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great big bear out of its place.
Somebody has been lying in my bed,
said the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. And Goldilocks had pulled the bolster of the middle-sized bear out of its place. Somebody has been lying in my bed, said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. But when the baby bear came to look at his bed, there was the bolster in its place, and the pillow was in its place upon the bolster. And upon the pillow, there was Goldilocks' sleepy head. Somebody has been lying in my bed, and here she is still, said the little baby bear in his little baby voice. Now Goldilocks had heard in her sleep the great, rough, gruff voice of the great big bear, but she was so fast asleep that it was no more to her than the roaring of wind or the rumbling of thunder. And Goldilocks also heard the middle-sized voice of the middle-sized bear, but it was only as if she heard someone speaking in a dream. But when Goldilocks heard the little baby voice of the little baby bear, it was so sharp and so shrill that it awakened her at once. When Goldilocks got up and saw the three bears on one side of the bed, she quickly tumbled herself out of the other and ran to the window. Now the window was open because the bears, like good tidy bears as they were, always opened their bedroom window when they got up in the morning. So naughty, frightened little Goldilocks quickly jumped out of the window, landed on a soft patch of grass, and ran all the way home. And the three bears never saw anything more of little Goldilocks.